Well, let's return now to the farce that is former US President Donald Trump being found guilty on all 34 counts of falsifying business records in his hush money trial in New York.
I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent, and I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end, and we'll win.
The verdict makes Trump the first former US president to be convicted of a felony. Joining me now is Sky News contributor Kosha Gada. Kosha, always good to see you. Thanks for joining us. What's your take on this verdict?
It's a pretty big day. People have described it as a before and after moment for the country, just, including what's happened here with this verdict as well as beyond that. My take would be there's three lenses to look at this. One is the legal process. This is not over. As President Trump himself said, it's going to go up through the appeal process, and most legal scholars believe it ultimately will be overturned on appeal, either within the New York system or at the Supreme Court even, just because there was a lot of judicial error in the way the whole trial was conducted in many facets. Leaving that aside, though, and that's going to be a long process, for now he has to wear this label of convicted felon, and you're going to see those words put up against his name in every single headline from now till November. So that's the second lens, which is political. And, we've been talking about this, that it galvanizes his support base. It's stimulating a lot of moderate center-right leaning people who never really loved Trump, but they're really angry and energized right now. And it's also really activating people on the other side who see this as deserving comeuppance. They really dislike him, think that the case was valid, and they're dancing in the streets is the way people have described it. So there's a lot going on over here. The third lens is just what it means for the country. As I said, Nick, at the outset, that beyond Trump, the implications of this and what it means in terms of the justice system, the brand of America, the brand of New York on the world stage, that damage is far-reaching, and it's going to unfortunately reverberate well beyond the Trump years.
Look, there's no doubt, obviously, America's very divided. That is extremely clear. But look, I've got to say, Kosha, this case has been very convoluted from the start. You look at the Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg. He, in this situation, used a law which hasn't even been used before to get Trump's conviction over the line, which is extraordinary. Did Trump ever really stand a chance in this?
It seems really, really, really unlikely. There was some hope or thoughts people had that maybe one juror would have been a holdout in this, because all he needed was one juror to break ranks with the rest of them, because you need a unanimous verdict for a criminal conviction. There were two lawyers in the case. There were other hopes in that way, but I think you put your finger on it there, Danica, that it was sort of really the whole playing field was tilted against him from the very start, from the jury pool being 87% or so voted for Biden in the last election and Hillary before that. So it wasn't really a jury of his peers. And then the judge himself, there's conflicts that have been raised about himself and his daughter being an active donor and operator in Democrat circles in terms of the evidentiary rulings that the judge put down with what evidence was allowed to be admitted into the case that was favorable to the prosecution and prejudicial to Trump, in terms of what evidence he prohibited the defense putting into the case. The jury instructions received a lot of scrutiny, where it was just really convoluted and wasn't clearly articulated to the jury about what exactly they're going for over here. So all of that, legal scholars have been analyzing this, and it really is unprecedented in terms of how tilted the playing field was, and he probably realistically did not stand a fair chance.
No, certainly not. We've seen as well Australian politicians have today responded to this verdict. This is what they've said.
We haven't seen anything like this before. Obviously, we need to now wait and see what the sentence is that the judge will hand down.
The one tribe who detest him and hate him, and the other tribe love him and adore him. All it will do is reinforce the views on both of those camps. You wouldn't expect the Foreign Minister of Australia to engage in commentary about the legal processes of another country.
It is important that the Prime Minister of Australia not comment. We're not a party to these court proceedings.
Yeah, Kosha, I feel as though Labor MPs and the Prime Minister would probably be secretly very happy about this decision. But what does it mean for Australia if Donald Trump, now a convicted felon, is still elected?
Well, I think the relationship between the two countries is bigger than any particular person that's leading either country at any particular time, that remains. It comes back to the policy positions, and if Australians think about how Australia's life really has been affected or not across many U.S. presidents. You can go all the way back to Clinton, Bush, Obama, et cetera. There's probably two areas. I don't think it actually changes that much based on who's in the White House over there, because the positions aren't that different. But one area is foreign policy, and especially now with the world in turmoil and people inching closer towards possibly boots on the ground and war zones. There's stark contrast between Trump's policy positions and Biden's in that regard, and that will affect Australians and Australian troops. And the other is China, which is an issue that Australia pays a lot of attention to, and I think everybody knows it's well documented what the Trump administration's policies were with respect to China versus Biden. So both of those things, people can make their own conclusions about which policy positions would benefit Australians. But beyond that, I don't think it makes that much difference. One other quick point I would add is that this whole lawfare that took place in the U.S. and where this justice system was weaponized in the way it has been, I think people in Australia and in Western democracies around the world should take note, because if it's happening there, it is not something specific or unique to America. It very well could happen here and elsewhere, and I think people would be wise to not put their heads in the sand about that possibility.
Yeah, a very fair point, and what a fascinating day it's been. Sky News contributor Kosha Gada, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.